Right, evening all. I'm today going to review the latest EP from Cult of Luna, The Raging River, released via Red Creek on the 5th of February. It's 5 tracks and about 38 minutes in length. This felt like a pretty natural extension to A Dawn to Fear, the album they released in 2019, and I enjoyed it pretty much the same. I think this was another strong release from Cult of Luna, and they prove once again, I think they're the masters of build-up and the use of kind of layering in the way they produce their albums, and sort of give you that post-metal feel, but there's always they always, I think, find a way to sort of use good climaxes in their music, and you feel like you're not just waiting around, which you probably can with some, I guess, some post-metal and post-rock. But Cult of Luna are masters of their art in many aspects, and going into the tracks now, the first track, Three Bridges, was perhaps for me the peak of this release, and I know it's only the first track, but it was an absolutely fantastic starting track to the album. And I think it best demonstrates where Cult of Luna really shine, and their use of melody kind of woven into their sort of crushing sound with the crushing distortion, and the way that they sort of weave in their melodies into that, and they use those kind of light electronic elements to create a real atmosphere behind their music. So it's not just sludgy crushing riffs, it's also giving their music a sort of real atmospheric feel all around it. So it feels like always find that albums seem to feel very well mixed and good as a whole, rather than just in the individual elements of their music. I particularly in Three Bridges really liked, I think it was a kind of between about 6 and 7 minutes if you listen to that track. There's an amazing passage there which I thought was really good. I mean, really good use of progression, and a build up prior to a return to I think what was the main riff of that song. I quite enjoyed the follow up to that, What I Leave Behind. That was a kind of slightly more I felt that was a little more predictable in its output, but I did enjoy that one as well. And the use of the bass guitar in that particular track was really good. Inside of a Dream was an interesting middle part of the album with Mark Lanegan on vocals, and that sort of had quite a good contrast. It was sort of like a little break in the middle of an otherwise pretty crushing and you know, apocalyptic sounding album. I quite liked that sort of almost felt like a little bit of a break track in the middle, which wasn't a bad thing, and if you're a Mark Lanegan fan, I guess it's a bonus for you as well. The fourth track I remember was pretty much for me, that was the kind of standard Cult of Luna track, but the last minute or so of that one was fantastic. That was completely crushing as well. And then Wave After Wave, I thought this one maybe was my, and I bet this is probably everyone else's high point of this album, but for me it just kind of went on a little bit too long. I know that's kind of often where Cult of Luna draw their strength, is the building of passages, but this one I didn't feel it evolved quite enough to my taste, but that's all I would say for that. So this album for me, I think, is probably a sort of 7.5 out of 10, a really good album. Perhaps remembering it is just an EP actually, rather than necessarily a full-length album, although it's long enough to be a full-length album. So it always confuses me when these relatively sort of album-length albums get called EPs. But anyway, it was a very good album, and for a relatively short one, I did enjoy it. Good EP. And Cult of Luna always impress. I think they're one of these bands that generally I think they deliver, and they did again here. And like I say, this felt like a pretty good extension of A Dawn to Fear. Thanks for watching.